Hello and welcome to The Other Marthas, the show where a drama student and a film graduate try to make sense of things we wish we were qualified in instead, with an emphasis on history, mystery and all things morbid. A quick disclaimer before we get started, we don't claim to be experts in any of the topics we'll be discussing, so while everything we say will be based on individual research, it's all a bit of fun and we suggest that you take everything we say with a pinch of salt. I'm Martha, I'm the drama student.
And I'm the other Martha, the film graduate.
So Martha, what are you going to be telling me about today?
Today I'm going to be educating you on Blackbeard the pirate.
Ooh, yes please.
Do you know anything about Blackbeard before we get started?
Not a lot, to be honest. The only sort of encounter I've had with Blackbeard, so to speak, less exciting than it sounds, is I've read Moonfleet, which is great, and it's about a young lad who sort of gets involved in smuggling and such, sort of by accident. And I'm pretty sure near the beginning of it, he falls into Blackbeard's coffin by mistake because he's trying to hide somewhere.
I thought you were going to say he falls in love with Blackbeard.
No.
And I was like, where's this
Absolutely
book? I
not.
need to read this.
No,
Okay,
it's definitely
okay.
one of the legendary pirates, and I'm pretty sure it's Blackbeard. Like, he lives where he's supposedly buried, and there's all these legends around it. And then he's around the graveyard. He gets spooked or has to hide or something, hides in the Blackbeardy area, and then he falls into his coffin and grabs hold of the nearest thing to try and right himself, and it's Blackbeard's beard, and it just comes off.
Okay.
And he's like, it feels like seaweed, and it's a beard. It's really quite disturbing, but I would recommend.
That's a really good fact to know about Blackbeard. I thought you were going to say that you knew he had a black beard.
Well, did he?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, fun.
Okay, so Blackbeard, they think, was born as Edward Teach in Bristol in around 1680. He also could have been Thatch or Thatcher, because no one could spell.
Yeah.
And also, he didn't necessarily want people to know who he was. That's why he
makes
called
sense.
Blackbeard.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he most likely came from a middle-class maritime family.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, he's a trust fund pirate.
I love that. It's always the ones who want more.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like the reason I think that is because he could read and write and had knowledge of like trade on the seas.
Yeah, well, good point. So, yeah, how would he have procured that otherwise?
So he's a big old posho from Bristol. Bristol in the 1680s, as we know, slave port.
Yes.
Most of the ships coming in and out of Bristol were slave ships.
Yeah.
Another bit of context. We're at the end of the Stuarts at the Glorious Revolution. So we're with Queen Anne. Who, fans of cinema might know from The Favourite.
As the lesbian one, maybe.
Maybe. She's also the last of the Stuarts.
I didn't know she was technically a Stuart.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And around this time also, newspapers and novels were growing in popularity.
Very cool.
And there's like sort of theories that celebrity status was born in 1709. So sort of like around this time, the newspapers are like, great, we can print loads of newspapers and people are reading them. Now, what are we going to write about? And they started writing about celebrities.
That's so interesting. Well, would things like court intrigues previously have been entirely confined to the court? And as far as the public were concerned, it was more or less just like, oh, I hear Henry's wife's going to be executed on Thursday. Really? I thought they were going strong. Well, what do we know? We don't.
We're peasants. No one tells us anything. Yeah, I suppose so. I think it was the public generally because they had people standing out in the street yelling things. Yeah, that's true. And they also would have got a lot of their news, I suppose, from church. Like,
sorry, you go.
Anything that the king wants them to know, like, hey, turns out my wife's a heretic.
Yes.
That's like, you put out something for the...
Yeah. And then priests. Probably other bits of things like, oh, I hear the king and Tommy Cromweller hatching another murder plan might come from like the kitchen maid who works there and sometimes goes home on a Sunday.
Yeah, like
you'll
it
never
probably
guess.
less print, more gossip, because not a lot of people could read.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
You don't get OK magazine in the 1600s. Not till 1680.
Town crier, your church priest man, and Betty the cook who comes home on Sundays.
They are the great journalists of their time. So, around 1701 to 1714, we have this wonderful party called the War of Spanish Succession.
Oh, party!
Yeah, which is where Spain doesn't have a monarch.
Right.
And all the other countries, local, that do have monarchs are like, hey, I want to be on the throne of Spain. And so there's a lot of drama going on in Europe because mainly France and England are trying to decide the fate of Spain.
It doesn't change.
So it's a very unsettled political time. During this time, Blackbeard, or Edward Teach, I don't think he's called Blackbeard yet.
No.
Is a member of the Royal Navy. But there's also theories that he might have been aboard a slaver ship and ends up in Jamaica. Not certain. Okay. But I'm going to go with the Royal Navy route because it's more direct.
All right.
But there's another theory out there. So he's a member of the Royal Navy and was recruited as a privateer. Privateers are basically pirates that the Queen is like, hey, go and steal Spanish or French ships. You get to keep the gold and the ship, and what she gets from it is that their fleet's destroyed.
Oh, wow.
So they're pirates for the Queen.
That must have been fantastic for anyone who fancied being a pirate.
Yeah, because you do all the pirate things, but you can't be arrested.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, by your monarch.
Yeah,
But, just don't get caught. So, such good advice.
Stupid pirates.
Yeah, so he was a privateer under a captain who has another brilliant name. Last week we had a brilliant name. This week we've got a brilliant name. His name is Captain Benjamin Hornigold.
Hornigold?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how he got that.
In polite society, people seem to be pronouncing it Hornigold. Like, they kind of go fast.
I see.
It's Hornigold.
It's Hornigold. Wow.
Probably because he's a pirate and they like gold.
Yeah. What was it, 1670 odd?
1716, sorry.
Right, I was going to say. But no, actually they did have weird names by then, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was just regressing the population's, like the etymology of all language about 1500 years or, well, actually considerably more.
I today looked up the origin of the word okay, so don't worry, I'm there with you.
Hold on, I know this, someone's told me this.
It's an American politician in 1890. His initials were OK, his nickname of his initials. So he was like, it's all okay, which means all right. It's like
that makes
called
sense.
All day Kemper or something. And he's pronouncing it weirdly.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
It's weird. Anyway, but I'm with you on I'll suddenly think of the origin of every word I say. So anyway, 1716, Blackbeard is under Hornigold and they're having a wonderful time robbing ships from the French. Around this time, because the War of Spanish Succession finishes, I think, in 1714, but then there's this thing called Queen Anne's War, where she's being salty to the French still.
Yes. And hold on. I know some of this. I think Ah, crap.
You really sound like you know it.
No,
I'm impressed.
Hold on.
I'm generally impressed when someone says hold on and then stammers.
It is quite impressive. No, but what's his sodding name? Marlborough, John Marlborough, who ends up getting Blenheim Palace or something like that. Am I right?
I don't know. I wasn't going to talk about it.
He wanted to do that, and Lord Sidney Godolphin, who was in charge of the government at the time, was pro the war, but then some other watch The Favourite. I'm so sorry. I really thought I remembered things that I just don't.
Well, I'm really happy that you interrupted me there, because I was just going to say that and then carry on.
Oh, right. Well, now I know some names.
Now I know some names. So basically, after the War of Spanish Succession, these privateers now have fleets of ships and loads of money. Right. And so they're like, I don't want to just go back to the Royal Navy. I'm going to continue to be a pirate.
Right.
So they have these like little notes from the Queen that says, oh, this is a privateer. Like, if you're the Navy, don't stop them, which have now expired, but they're still like, meh, I'm a pirate.
Yeah.
Give me all your money. All of that good stuff. So
I love that. They have a note from the Queen.
Yeah, little note. It's like a document that they have to have.
Yeah, like an exemption from PE or something. What are you doing still in the corridor? Well, actually, and then you unfold your little doctor's note and you're like, excuse you.
Benjamin Hornigold is excused from PE because because he's got his period.
Exactly.
No, what Benjamin Hornigold does do is not be excused from PE, but in fact captures a ship off of Jamaica. And Blackbeard is along for the ride, and Hornigold is like, Blackbeard, I like your style. Would you like to be quartermaster on my ship? It's like, love to, thanks. And so my notes are such a mess. I'm just going to show you them. They're neat, but the annotations.
Yeah, they look like my notes, and that's nothing but a bad thing.
It's an insult.
It is. All notes.
Yeah. So as quartermaster, he has to deal with the discipline, the stores, and the loot. So he's like really trusted.
Yeah, like surely that's everything that's not actually, you know, the ship stuff. Like he sounds like he's in charge of the piratey business more.
Other than steering the ship and planning where they go, and I think nowadays the quartermaster even does that. So I don't really know what the captain does. So Hornigold is like, I've got so many ships now. I'm having such a great time, because they then steal 2 more ships. One of which is commanded by a guy called Stede Bonnet.
Brilliant.
Who's from Barbados and is often called the gentleman pirate.
Cool. And, yes, I've heard the gentleman pirate name.
Yeah. So Hornigold's like, I've got so many ships, Blackbeard. I want you to be the captain of one of them. And he lets him captain the Revenge.
Nice. Can I ask a question at this point?
Please do.
Based on the gentleman pirate being from Barbados, something that's always struck me in films about pirates is that the crew seem to be a lot more diverse than in many other kind of
career choices.
Hey?
Than other career choices from the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I will disappoint you here and tell you that Stede is a white man from Barbados, and his parents are rich and they probably own people. So I don't know if that's the case, but he's from Barbados.
Likely, if he's a rich white person living in Barbados, then
but yes, and we'll get onto a little bit of it. But yeah, when I heard that Stede Bonnet was from Barbados, I also got excited. Yeah. But no, he is a rich white man from Barbados. Good. Our favourite. That's a joke. They're not our favourite. Okay, so at this point now, loads of ships, having a great time. Blackbeard then, on the Revenge, captures a French ship called the Concorde, or, bit of French for you, Martha,
Ooh.
La Concorde.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, but Concorde is Concorde. Ah, no. You got me with the pronoun or whatever it is.
And he renames it. It's like that one time, do you remember? I don't know if you were in this French lesson, because I don't know if it was like the lower group. I didn't know if they did that. But do you remember that one time in the French lesson where we had French exchange students and our teacher asked the French students what they call the Grand Prix?
No.
She was like, oh, at the weekend, I watched, but she said it in French,
Le
Grand Prix. And she went, what do you call the Grand Prix?
Oh,
and
no.
Like, what do you
think?
Grand
Prix, yeah.
It's literally in French, like that's what they said.
That must be, but the thing is, as a French teacher, like, of course she would have known that, but it must have been one of the most embarrassing moments. God.
Anyway, so La Concorde, and he renames it Queen Anne's Revenge.
Oh, fun.
And this is in 1717, if you're keeping track of time. Queen Anne's Revenge is massive and very fancy. And when it was the Concorde, it seems like it was a slave ship that then he converted to his own use. And from what I read, he gave the crew of La Concorde, he gave them a little boat and was like, go and have fun on this little boat. Yeah. And they called it something like the bad meeting, because like they met Blackbeard. And then he put the slaves on an island.
Okay.
And I don't know if he was trying to be cute, or whether he was like, whether he was trying to free them, or whether he was like, I don't want them here, so
yeah, I don't know what to do with all these
island
people. Yeah.
But then
it's cool anyway.
Yeah, but then it's so sad.
Oh no.
Because the crew of the bad meeting, or whatever it's called, just go to the island and get them again.
No. What, and then sell them?
Probably.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, guys, just leave them alone. You've got away with your lives. Let these people live. But no.
That's so confusing. So Blackbeard is just like on his own on this giant ship that could hold presumably several hundred people, because if it's a
not
slave
comfortably
ship.
though.
No, oh no, obviously not. So he's just there hanging out, and he's like, you know what, I need more room, or possibly, you know what, you guys are not having a good time.
Yes, I mean, we don't know Blackbeard's motivation.
No.
And I'm not saying he's a great liberator of people. I don't know his thinking, but what happened is the enslaved people were captured again by the same people that captured them in the first place. Yeah,
but then oh, I see. Wait. I was imagining something different. So Blackbeard plonked the crew that were initially on the slave ship in another little ship.
Yes.
Right, I thought Blackbeard plonked his own crew.
Oh, no!
In a smaller ship, was just hanging out on his own, and then went, I need more room for just me.
Excuse me, everyone, but there's not enough room for Blackbeard. No, he puts the crew of La Concorde on this other vessel, and his piratey crew on what's now the Queen Anne's Revenge.
And then I was also confused, because I was like, well, why did Blackbeard's crew go and get these people again?
Yeah, sorry, I probably explained it wrong.
Now.
So that's how he gets the Queen Anne's Revenge, which is his like iconic ship.
Yeah.
And that same year, Hornigold then retires, which essentially seems to put Blackbeard in charge of the fleet.
Wow.
So Hornigold takes 2 ships with him, but they've still got a couple of ships, and the Revenge, which isn't Queen Anne's Revenge. The Revenge is the one that Hornigold captures and gives to Blackbeard, and Blackbeard uses to capture Queen Anne's Revenge.
Le Concorde into,
Yeah.
Got ya.
And so the Revenge then goes to Bonnet.
Yeah.
So that's where everyone is on the ships.
Lovely.
Talking about crews, because we brought it up, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. Queen Anne's Revenge needed around 100 crew members to sail properly. And so...
And I thought it was just Blackbeard swinging around. Like,
no, it's massive.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So sometimes when he captured a vessel, like an enemy vessel, he would recruit people from the ship and be like, oh, do you want to be a pirate? Do you fancy it?
Yeah.
And he would also sometimes kidnap and force them to be pirates. But pirates sort of saw themselves as their own law and society and everything, which must have been appealing in a time that's so politically weird.
True.
Like, if you don't really know, like, oh, who's the queen? Oh, who's going to rule Spain?
Like, the pirate code is always going to be the pirate code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact about pirate code is that they have, like, set amount of money for different wounds. Like, oh, if you lose your right arm, you get this much money. If you lose an eye, you get this much money.
They had compensation before it was cool.
Yeah, so, like, not only is it, like, potentially, like, racially diverse, they had men going around without arms and legs and eyes.
They are beginning to sound, and I'm aware that, they are taking vessels by force and
but from the monarchy.
Yeah, true. They really sound like they're doing pretty good stuff. Also, I thought when you were saying that they would give these different amounts of money, I thought you were saying that they had like a cap off point per ship, like non-profit organizations, like they had to reinvest in getting better ships or working conditions or something.
Well, they probably did, because
but they're not going to be like, oh, we've got 3,000 doubloons, oh, better not go above 4,000, or the pirate king will come and say, well, now you have to pay tax.
They probably were taxed by pirate kings, that the pirate king was like, I won't come and kill all of your crew if you give me some money, that was thing. Let's get on to the story. So Blackbeard equipped the Queen Anne's Revenge with 40 guns and crewed her with between 100 to 300 sailors.
Wow.
Couldn't count them. So some fun pirating techniques here for you. One tactic that Blackbeard used, and it's just such a fun tactic, is he would put up a French or English flag and would be like, ho, please come and talk to us because we're French and so are you.
Yeah.
Bonjour. And then the French ship would come to them.
Yeah.
And then when they were too close to get away, they'd put up the Jolly Roger, which is either skull and crossbones or a little skeleton man holding a spear.
Ooh.
With a heart on it.
Oh, God.
So that's fun. And then would frighten them so that they would quickly hand over their goods.
I see.
And I just think, like, first of all, so easily fooled.
Yes.
And second of all, imagine if two pirate ships were both going, bonjour, I'm French, come here. And then they meet and they're both like, rawr, we're pirates. And then they're like, oh, it's like that Spider-Man meme.
Yes. Oh, I wonder what would happen, like, whether you'd sort of weigh up and go, oh, well, are pirates allowed to pirate each other? Do they kind of go, oh, we're of similar might, therefore we won't bother? Or is it kind of fair game if they want to give it a go? Or
I would go with probably you don't attack other pirates, because they are a sort of society. Yeah. And they have sort of their own rules. You might not be the most popular guy at the next pirate party, which they do have.
True.
So they do. They like meet up in like near Jamaica and stuff, and they have like pirate get-togethers.
Yeah, the more you're telling me about this, the more I'm thinking from what I remember of Pirates of the Caribbean. It sounds spot on.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say Pirates of the Caribbean is historically accurate. And that's a fact.
That's what we were all looking for.
It's not. Okay, so I don't know what's going on about, but let's continue with the story. Going off of the like, come hither, and then frightening people. Yeah. Blackbeard is famous for such a fun party trick that he used to do. Okay. Where he would put gunpowder and fuses in his beard, which he'd coated with wax. No. And set them alight. And he would appear on deck with burning tapers around his face.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. And so he had a massive, messy, bushy beard. And he would he also had freakishly long hair, which is a compliment that you gave me once. And
it is.
And he would turn up flaming Hagrid, basically.
Oh my god. I wonder how he first came up with that. Like, I want, maybe if he accidentally just spilled a lantern in his beard and he was like, this is weird, it's not hurting me. And then thought, oh, it must be all the wax or something.
No, he would put the wax. It wasn't like, oh, I've been using my beard oils. No, it was, I want to set fire to my own beard because I think it will be scary, but I'm going to put wax in it so that I don't set fire to myself.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. But if he did it accidentally one time with a candle,
but so a lantern's, oh, right, okay.
Then maybe he's like, oh, why isn't this burning my skin off?
He would have just known. I think people just had more of a knowledge of candles then. Like, I don't think he would have needed to have spilt a candle on him to understand that wax
that's actually
down.
a good point. Yes, I'm sort of
and he's
basing it on the kind of journey I would have had to go through to come to that.
Yeah, he's middle class, so he's probably like lived around a lot of candles.
He's probably had a frustrated youth in which he's tried that kind of shit before.
Yes, he's a posh boy from Bristol, and he's definitely set fire to his beard for fun before his life of piracy.
Absolutely, just in his room, like, one day this will do something cool. I mean, he's right.
Or he'll be like trying to get his way with his parents, and he's like, if you don't let me go to the docks, I'll set my beard on fire.
Yeah, like how little kids always cut their own hair and then their parents get really annoyed. He's like,
put
I'm too cool for that.
Yeah, so just a fun side note about Blackbeard's appearance.
I had absolutely no idea. That's really cool, and that kind of cements the beard more as a part of his identity as well.
Yes, that's most likely why everyone was like, not only, well, so in polite society at this time, men had like neat short hair and were clean shaven. So to be like, hey, look at my bushy beard and long hair, he's like properly cementing himself as, I'm not a nice person, I'm not civilized, don't even try me because I'll get you with my flaming beard.
So was Blackbeard an early version of the kind of anti-establishment middle-class hippie?
Blackbeard tapers in the beard, and here's a fun description of him from the time. Such a figure that imagination cannot forge an idea of, a fury from hell to look more frightful. So he's a spooky looking man, but also some information about how he would choose to decorate his beard, perhaps on his off days. Blackbeard would also tie colourful ribbons into his beard.
Cutie!
So when he's not setting fire to it, he's decorating it with ribbons. And I think that's nice.
That's very sweet.
Anyway, away from his massive beard, Blackbeard has a massive operation at this time, as well as a massive beard.
Damn.
And they would place themselves in major shipping lanes and then just raid huge numbers of ships.
Wow.
So there's a statistic that off of the coast of the Carolinas, so this is America, they got 15 ships in 48 hours.
Oh my god. They must have been, at this point, I assume there was a response to like really start arming ships against pirates or something.
Well, you would think so.
You really would. So our ships are going.
Yeah, I suppose there must have been. I mean, I'll get onto it a bit later about how fed up people were getting with him. So they would do like these massive sprees, and then they would, if the heat got a bit much, not as in, oh, it's too hot, but as in like they're sending out patrols, the ships are armed and things like that, they would go to Jamaica and chill out for a bit and restock, wait for everyone in America to calm down, and then come back and steal all their money.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a life.
They would also sell their goods in the colonies because basically some of the goods that they would have would be spices, medicine, sugar, rum, wines, specifically French, indigo dye, and cotton and cocoa. And a lot of these were from France and Spain. And so because England was salty with France and Spain, they weren't letting the colonies trade with France and Spain. So the pirates were the middleman, and they'd steal everything from France and Spain and then take it to the colonies and sell it to them.
Yeah.
So
like YouTube channels who have Netflix accounts and then put them up. Well, put up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is a commodity that not everyone...
Piracy.
Oh my god!
That's what we're talking about, is piracy.
Piracy! Wow! I just likened piracy to piracy. Everyone, you heard it here first. I'm just going to let you continue while I live down that embarrassment.
Yeah. They have these stores full of spices because the general view of pirates is they love gold and jewels and jewelry, but actually they loved spices because they're light and they're expensive.
Makes a lot of sense.
And so you can have more on your ship. So, you know, fun pirate fact for you. They also
spicy ships.
Didn't bury treasure.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I'm happy about, because it's always filled me with rage that a pirate would bury their treasure and then be like, right, off back to sea then. It's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you burying it? What?
I know, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like making a deposit in a bank, except it's in the ground, but...
Yes, but then they always forget where it is.
Yeah.
So, like...
There wasn't there... I feel like Blackbeard was one of the ones, mind you, it could, I mean, it's almost definitely a rumour, but whenever a major pirate dies, people are like, oh, where's that hoard of treasure that they...
Yeah, no, he didn't have a hoard of treasure. His hoard of treasure, if he buried it, was spices and cotton that's definitely rotted away now.
Good point. It's just some spicy earth somewhere.
Spicy earth, like a fun tree's growing there.
Yeah.
So then we get on to quite a fun event.
Brilliant.
Which is Charlestown in May 1718.
All right.
Which is in South Carolina. So they can't catch a break, Carolina, from Blackbeard. Blackbeard basically laid siege to Charlestown for a whole week because he needed medicine.
Oh.
Which I've done similar things to Boots, to be honest. So what he did was any vessel that tried to enter or leave the port, he would capture. He captured 9 vessels, including one which was carrying rich people from Charlestown.
It was just like a people carrier?
To London. Well, no, it was a ship that,
yeah.
you know, people were on.
Okay.
But they were like, sort of like the colony's version of royalty. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they were like the aristocracy, basically.
Yeah.
And so he captured them and said, I need medicine. And he said, if I don't get medicine, I'm going to kill you all.
Oh my God.
To the rich people. And the rich people went, we'll get you some medicine.
Yeah, sensible.
So why did the pirates want medicine? What was wrong with the pirates? Well, they had just returned from Africa and the West Indies. So there's theories that they either had malaria or yellow fever.
Right.
But they might also have needed a popular cure for syphilis because they're pirates. And it sort of goes along with the job that you go to the brothels and you catch syphilis.
Yeah, what is it with... Well, I suppose it is just you spend so long on the sea and then it's like, oh, but like people...
Were you going to say, what is it with syphilis?
Well, I was going to say, what is it with sailors and syphilis? Which I'm sure...
Yes, they go to the docks and all the other sailors go to the docks.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, true.
And, yeah.
And you get the window of opportunity when you can, I suppose. There's no time to woo.
Well, that's the other thing, is that they get like a night off.
Yeah.
So they like stop at the docks, they go and visit the ladies.
The lovely ladies.
yeah, and catch syphilis. And
Great.
the
Good trade.
fun cure that they were willing to lay siege to a town for a week for is such a nightmare. It's a urethral syringe full of mercury, which is injected into the penis.
Surely that didn't work.
It didn't work, no. Because
why
mercury,
did anyone think it would, or continue to think it did?
Well, first of all, it'd kill you.
Yeah.
But it alleviates the symptoms. So they were like, oh, it works for a while and then eventually kills you. Yes, but it's not like a week later. It's like years later.
I see.
When you've done it a lot of times.
To be fair,
it's like a slow poisoning because it's heavy metal.
I suppose things like, and I apologise if this is insensitive, but things like chemotherapy can take a large toll on the body, which can ultimately, and a lot of sort of more aggressive medicines, which can ultimately prove as dangerous as the disease, but you take the trade-off because you're more comfortable for longer or similar.
Yeah, and also, like, syphilis is not a party. Like, you get sores and then it affects your brain and your mind. So they were like,
and what you want.
Give me, I mean, no one would inject anything into their urethra if they didn't have to. And
that's a very good point. Well, actually, some people would, and if that is your thing,
okay, Martha, we don't. These people, they don't need us to validate them.
Maybe they do. I just want to say,
you know what?
You.
This isn't the podcast for it. This isn't that podcast.
That's true. I'm sure there are fetish positive podcasts out there.
So
anyway.
Here's a fun quote from the time, and then we'll move on from urethral syringes full of mercury. It's a fun quote from the time, and it's a night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a rhyming one, and I was like, where's this going?
A night with Venus, a syringe in your penis. I mean,
also, can I just say, whenever you say a quote from the time, I keep thinking of it as the Times newspaper, but at that point there hadn't been enough of them to earn the plural.
So it's the time.
The time.
A contemporary quote.
Yes.
Anyway, so speaking of Venuses, Blackbeard did not frequent the docks. He instead chose a slightly, but only slightly, more monogamous option.
Right.
Because Blackbeard was married.
Oh, how nice.
Can you guess how many wives Blackbeard had?
I want to say 14.
Yes!
No, are you kidding?
You full on read my mind then. He had 14 wives.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so he had one for each port that he would visit.
Yeah, I was going to say, ideal.
And so there's a couple of theories as to why he had so many wives. The first one is that he was very romantic, loved women, enjoyed getting married and having wives, and he just enjoyed it. It's just a happy little man who loved having lots of wives.
That's really sweet.
Apparently, there also aren't any reports of him being abusive towards women in any way. So, you know.
Cool. Damn, Blackbeard.
A decent human being.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not because he murders people, but like...
Yeah. Like on balance. In person, charming fella. Do we know if the wives knew about each other? I mean, not that it really matters in the grand scheme of things.
I don't think they did. I think every port he had to look in his little book to find the name of the wife. And then be like, no one mentioned the other 13 to Sarah. And then everyone's like, aye, Captain.
All right, Blackbeard.
So another theory is that they were an insurance policy, basically, because if Blackbeard was captured at the port, they would do a trial at the port and his wife could come along and go, that's not Blackbeard, that's my husband.
Oh my God, so they didn't know he was Blackbeard either?
They well, he would disguise himself and change his name for each marriage. So I also like that if he's got a book of wife names, he's also got a book of what his name is and also what this man wears as his costume.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So they might have known he was Blackbeard, but also would have been willing to lie for him.
Yeah. Wow.
Or they might not have known.
It's been like, I suppose it's not like they're going to get together and be like, interesting. We 14 women from every continent times 2 all have a husband who's away a lot and weirdly never at quite the same times. It's unlikely, I suppose. Although I would love a novel about the wives setting up their own pirate things, coming together, realizing that they're all Blackbeard's wives, and then
all divorcing him and taking all of his money. So I've just developed my own theory right this second.
Go on.
Here's my theory. If all of your crew are dying of syphilis and you've seen what the cure is, it probably works quite in your favour to just have one lady that you know probably isn't sleeping with all the other sailors that visit her.
It's a very good point.
So you're not going to get syphilis?
Just minimising your contact.
Yeah, although I wonder if Blackbeard had syphilis because he was very desperate for the medicine to lay siege for a week.
Mind you, though, I mean, if all of your crew have it,
then
it's also like, I mean, what are you going to do? Blackbeard in his fun time, as with the early glory days of Queen Anne's Revenge, just him. And the HIGHSEAS.
Just him being like, my whole crew have syphilis, I have to get the medicine.
He'd go back to the island where he left the people before and be like, hi, do you guys want to work on the ship? I know that you were imprisoned in this ship to be sold into slavery, but do you want to be my crew? I don't.
He'd be like,
I like the idea that he'd be really sensitive about it. Be like, I'm aware that
I'm aware I marooned you on this island, but do you know anything about sailing? And also, are you willing not to visit the dock ladies?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So those are Blackbeard's wives. I think either way, I mean, it's cute.
Oh yeah.
It's weird because you shouldn't have 14 wives, but if I mean they didn't know about it. I think it's cute that one of the theories is he's just very romantic and like
I like that. And he's like, but I can't go and see Sandra. So here's some roses for you, Jermaine.
The other thing is that he was rich enough to afford them all. Because like obviously if you've got a wife, you've got to put her in a house.
Yeah.
Feed her and things. So
good point. Damn.
I mean, you know, it's probably quite like a labour low role for these wives because they live alone most of the time, so they're probably like, yeah, sure,
probably having a fantastic time. Yeah Life of Riley. Every now and then your husband comes back covered in glory. Possibly there's a trial.
Possibly there's a trial in which you have to lie about who he is, but that's fine.
That's fine. That's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do.
Yeah, so just having a little giggle. Okay, so now we get on to a fun moment in Blackbeard's life, and I have two accounts of it because I don't know which is true.
Okay.
Basically. But by this point, Blackbeard had only been an official pirate captain for 2 years. He'd been a pirate and a privateer for longer because he started, a couple of years
under
before
horny
that. Under horny gold. But he'd only been a pirate captain for 2 years and he's like running a whole fleet, which is like career goals. Here are the two versions of the story. I'm going to call this story Blackbeard's Pardon.
Oh.
So, in 1717, King Charles, he launches this thing called King Charles's Act of Grace, which was basically saying, there's so many pirates and I can't keep killing them all. So if you're a pirate, come forward, tell us you're a pirate, tell us who your accomplices are, and if you say you promise never to be a pirate again, you can keep all of your loot.
Wow.
From being a pirate, which is a good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to turn in your friends, but they're really just colleagues.
Yeah.
And
they're all syphilitic anyway. They're going to die of mercury poisoning very soon.
Yeah, either the syphilis or the mercury is going to get them.
Yeah, and time it right, and you're sparing them, really.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah, it's not great, but...
So, here's where the story diverts into the two parts. The reason I don't know which one's true is because the first one I'm going to tell you I heard on a history podcast from an expert, and the second one I'm going to tell you I read on Wikipedia. Which is also written by historians, but there's two stories and I thought they're both fun, so I'll tell you them both.
All right, why not?
So the first story is that Blackbeard realizes he's famous. And he's like, I can't even go out anymore because everyone recognizes me as Blackbeard. Sunglasses haven't been invented yet, so I can't disguise my identity, as though they would help. And he also realizes that the Queen Anne's Revenge is also really recognizable because it's a really famous ship at this point. Like, no one's falling for the I'm French, I promise thing anymore. So he's got his crew of 150 people really drunk. They have a big party on the ship, and he's like, everyone, like, he's like, you know when creepy men like tip the bottom of the glass to make women drink more?
Yeah.
He's doing that to all the sailors.
Yeah.
And they all pass out. And then he deliberately crashes Queen Anne's Revenge into Beaufort Inlet in Carolina. And he's like, oh no, I crashed my ship. Oopsie. And so that night he goes to the governor of Virginia and pleads for his pardon, and he gets it. And he's like, my whole crew are down in the inlet. Peace out.
Oh my God, what a dick.
I know. So then he returns to the ship. He gets 45 of his favourite pirates, and they escape on a smaller ship. And then they continue to pirate from the smaller ship, and he's just pretending he's
no longer pirating.
Wow. Yeah, so he's saying, oh, me, Blackbeard, I'll never pirate again in my life. But me, slightly shorter greybeard, well, I can't promise anything.
I was going to say, just shave it off. You'd have another 25 years.
Yeah, I think he does at one point. I think he does shave it off. And then there's the historian from this podcast I listened to has a theory that he made a wig out of his own beard to put on to frighten people if he needed to become Blackbeard again.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, she doesn't know if it's true, neither do I, but it could be. So, then the story goes for the Queen Anne's Revenge is that Steed, remember Steed Bonnet? Who Blackbeard was friends with, tries to lead the crew, and everyone abandons the ship, and the ship is allowed to float back out to sea and sink. And it's recently been discovered again, and archaeologists are diving to it.
Wow.
That's fun.
So this is of the people who were left in drunken stupors on board, and then Bonnet wakes up and is like, oh boy, come on, lads.
Yeah. So they're like, quick, let's go, because the governor's coming for us. So that's one version. All right. The second version is Blackbeard hears of King Charles's act of pardon, act of grace, and there were conditions around the pardon, which was certain dates, and in those dates they'd been laying siege to Charlestown. So it was like, if you haven't pirated like since this date, you're pardoned for all of that, but anything you did after this date, we might still hang you as a pirate. Right. So Blackbeard is like, well, I'm not going to turn myself in if I'm going to be hung. Yeah. Hanged, I think. And so he's still an absolute serpent in this story. Oh God. He says to Steed, hey Steed, I've heard about this pardon thing. It's going to be totally fine. You need to go and ask for pardon. So Steed goes and asks for pardon. He goes to a man called Charles Eden, governor of Virginia. And Steve receives Steed receives his pardon, and it's fine.
Steve recedes.
And Steed returns to collect his ship, which is the Revenge, and to say to Blackbeard, it's fine, like everything was okay, you can go too. And when he gets there, he discovers that Blackbeard has stolen all of the valuables and all of the supplies and marooned the crew.
Oh no.
And then Steed's like, where's all my stuff, Blackbeard? But Blackbeard's long gone, and he has already set out for his pardon and receives it. So those are the two versions of the story.
Oh my god. But the second one, like the first one, is cold, but like he does it to get his pardon. The second one, like he didn't even need to, if he was always going to go and get his pardon, he's like, oh, I'll just have a little fun along the way. Go on, Bonnet. La, 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 la.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, so that's the story I like to call Blackbeard's pardon.
Wow. So
now, for a little while, Blackbeard settles down and he makes a cozy little life for himself, and he seems to be retired. All
right. Is he with one of his wives, or is it unclear?
Maybe he's got all 14.
Maybe.
Until...
Oh dear.
22nd of November, 1718. Blackbeard is pirating again.
Ugh.
He's come back for one job and he's like, oh, I'm living the pirate life, sick of living my 14 wives. It's the pirate life for me. And this guy who's a new governor of Virginia, Alexander Spotswood, another great name.
Brilliant.
Is like, hey, that's Blackbeard and we don't like him.
Yeah.
And so Alexander orders the Coast Guard to engage with Blackbeard. There's a massive sea battle between this guy called Lieutenant Maynard and Blackbeard and his crew, in which Maynard is like, oh no, please don't come aboard my ship, Blackbeard. And Blackbeard's like, I'm gonna come aboard your ship. And he gets on the ship, and then Maynard's
like, surprise,
the holds open, soldiers run out of the holds. There's loads of them.
Classic.
And the fun thing about this is that a lot of Blackbeard's tactic was like fear. So the ship comes close, the Jolly Roger goes up, he lights his candle beard. And it's all to frighten people into giving stuff over so that there doesn't have to be fighting.
Right.
Whereas Maynard is like, I'm not scared of you, freaky beard, and I know you're a pirate, so come at me.
And here's my gun.
Yes. And so they do shoot at each other, and then they go bang, and then they throw their guns aside because you only get one shot in a gun. Well, you have to put the bullet and then tamp it down.
And then it for a bit.
Tamping, but okay.
That's it.
You call it what you want. And so they're not the most efficient for speed in battle, but and also a bit embarrassing to do in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
But they shoot at each other, and then they engage in hand-to-hand combat. By hand-to-hand, they've got swords.
Right.
Not for long, though, because Blackbeard breaks Maynard's sword with his cutlass.
Oh.
And then Maynard stabs Blackbeard in the leg, I assume with a broken sword, which is probably worse than a sharp sword.
I would imagine so.
And Blackbeard taunts him by shouting, "Well done, lad!"
That is a badass. Anything else he's done, I feel like pales in comparison to being stabbed in the leg with a broken sword and going, "Well done, lad!" Yeah,
he also taunts them at the start of the battle because he's like, "Oh, you better not give me quarter," which is basically like, arrest him and all of this.
Right.
And Maynard's like, we never even were going to. He says it in a better way than that, I'm sure.
I also like, just because he uses the word lad, I'm imagining it like Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. Oh, cracking job, lad!
I don't know that's the case, but pirates by Ardman is a lovely time if you're feeling piratey after this podcast.
Oh well, I might check it out.
Do. So Blackbeard taunts him, "Well done, lad." And then again, the story diverts slightly. So in one story, Maynard's crew surrounds the two of them as they fight, cutting Blackbeard off from his own men. And then the sailors on Maynard's side all attack Blackbeard and kill him.
Ooh.
In another story, Blackbeard shouts, "Well done, lad," and then Maynard decapitates him. Which is such a fun, like, smash cut one to the other. He's like not finished saying the words, and his decapitated head continues the sentence as it flies across the deck.
I mean, what a way to go, but blimey.
It's a bit awkward when you've just been bragging that you're really like, "Oh, well done, lad, you've got one hit in," and then you haven't got a head anymore.
Yeah, like, it's bad enough if you think you're right about something and you're mocking the other person and it turns out they're right.
Yeah, I remember that from my life.
Yeah.
Mostly from our friendship.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it happens, but it's always quite embarrassing. Imagine if instead of the person being like, "Actually, no, I am right, look,
I've just Googled it,"
yeah, they just cut your head off, which is also never a good day.
If that was the solution to mocking someone unjustly for maybe something when you think you're right, I wouldn't have a head about 30 times over.
Yeah, same.
So I'm glad that it's not.
That's why we do it to people who have been dead for a very long time.
So then there's a lot of death after this battle. Some people have told me that 35 Coast Guards died. Some people have told me 11 on each side during the battle. I don't know. I wasn't there. I couldn't count.
No, but plenty of death.
A lot of death. And all of Blackbeard's crew are taken ashore, arrested and hanged on the same day.
Wow, Christ. How many gallows did they have?
Well, they probably didn't do it like in unison, like...
Well, no, but...
They all go. There's also, here's a fun fact about pirates dying.
Okay.
It's vague because I haven't written it down, it's just something I've heard.
Yeah, that's fine.
As always, I thought you were going to say. Where basically, they initially, when piracy first started, it was kind of the law that people, like criminals, would be killed near where they did their crimes, kind of like themed deaths. So like highwaymen were hanged near the highway.
Right.
Pirates were hanged near the sea. Like they
it makes sense so that then other versions of their criminal would be like, "Oh, that was me."
Yes, it does make sense. It's just cute that they're like, "Oh, like let's do it this way."
I mean, cute's not the word I use, but I do like the idea of like venue planning for these things.
Yes, they like decorate it and things.
Yeah.
And they also would one really horrible way that they would kill people, pirates, was they would put them in cages and put them just below the tide line, and they would stay in the cage for 3 tides.
Oh.
Yeah, which is like grim.
Jesus
so
Christ.
But anyway, yeah, they had loads of gallows and they hanged them all in unison on the same day.
Yeah, blimey.
Meanwhile, Blackbeard's corpse, the sort of, not the autopsy guy, because they didn't have one, but the person who was like, "Oh, I'm going to have a poke around on this corpse."
Yeah.
Discovered
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, they discovered that Blackbeard had been shot 5 times and cut around 20. So that leads me to believe that it was like a crew effort rather than Maynard being upset and decapitating Blackbeard. But
I would think that's more likely anyway. Like,
yes, and then the story has changed over time to be like, Maynard, what a legend.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, if you're in Blackbeard's position, if you're fighting hand to hand with someone and there's also, 60 odd members of the Coast Guard aiming firearms at you, you're not going to win. So you might well be like, haha, well done, lad, and then
maybe
you're like, well, but you're not going to do it if you're like, there's a good chance he could decapitate me if I just push him over the edge.
I don't know though, because he was like
a bit of a diva.
A bit Blackbeard, bit of a diva.
Yeah.
So now we reach the end of our tale.
Oh.
What happened to Blackbeard's decapitated head?
Yes.
Well, the head was mounted at the front of the ship and was paraded up and down the coast.
Oh, God.
And then his skull was encased in silver and was used as a drinking vessel in the taverns up and down the east coast? Yeah, east coast of America.
That's so extra.
Well, because yes, but you've got to think of it in the way that these people were under siege by him for like 2 to 5 years.
That's
being
true.
Like, we can't get any money from all of the horrible things we're doing to other humans because this guy keeps stealing our cotton. So, like,
good point.
No one's good here, but
no. But they are glad.
They are glad, and they're so glad they'll drink out of a silver-encased human skull.
Blimey.
And there we are. That's Blackbeard.
Wow, that's fantastic, and that also throws doubt on my little.
Yes.
Well, not that it was supposed to be biographical, like it's from a novel, but
yeah, when
maybe it wasn't Blackbeard's beard. Maybe it was body hair.
Ooh, it's chest hair.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, maybe.
Blimey.
Yeah, so that's Blackbeard. They've lost the skull now. No one knows where it is.
Oh no! Do they know where the rest of the body is, or is it just kind of in a pit with other criminals' bodies?
That's what I don't know. Shall I look it up and see?
Yeah, because I don't know. Because sometimes legendary bad guys in inverted commas would be buried separately just for the story and the warning and all that. But I don't know if this was more just like, oh, thank God, put him in the pirate pit.
Oh,
try saying that 6 times fast. Put him in the pirate pit.
His headless body is believed to be buried in a mass grave somewhere on the island of Ocracoke.
Okay.
Which you can today take a break from your pirate trail to enjoy Ocracoke's charming village and pristine beaches.
Oh, lovely.
North Carolina. So if you're listening from North Carolina, which I doubt you got this far, because
why? Well, bring a spade. Tell us what you find.
Oh my God! Yeah, dig up the pirates if you're from North Carolina and tell us
if you can find one without a head that you think, if it had a head, would probably have had a black beard.
Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you so much for telling me all that. I'm fascinated.
You're so welcome.
Especially the pardon story and the 14 wives.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that about Blackbeard.
No. Or the flaming beard. That's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you for listening to the Other Marthas podcast, the show where a drama student and a film graduate talk about things we have no business talking about. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do subscribe to our channel for more.